to our podcast, Africa to the World, where we tell African stories to transform people's lives. My name is Yvonne.
And I'm Shami.
And we are your hosts.
So today we are going in a whole different direction to what we've been doing lately. And we're going to be talking about a more serious topic, but an important one. We are discussing the issue of postpartum depression. And we wanted to have this conversation because it seems now more than ever, a lot of people are struggling and they are struggling in silence. People around them just don't understand, like, what is this postpartum depression thing? Is it real? Is this person just being extra? Are they making it up? And so I actually had a request from someone who knows that I have a podcast with a friend. And she said to me, you know what, I'm really struggling and I think it would be great if you could have a conversation on postpartum depression and share it so it might help someone. You never know who's going to hear it. So we listened because we like to listen. And here we are on our podcast today. We've got T and Tat, Nashianta Tenda, and they're going to be chatting to us a little bit about their experience. So this is a personal experience with postpartum depression. And yeah, hopefully this conversation is going to be very helpful to someone. So welcome, T and Ta. Thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thank you
for having us.
Yep.
All right. So we are going to go right in. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, a little bit about your family, how you met, the married life. How's it going?
Are you sure you want to hear the whole shebang? Because we got stories for days in terms of how we met and all that stuff.
Whatever you do, don't scare anyone away.
Yeah, okay, I won't scare anyone away. But do you want to go?
Yes. So hi, I'm Ta, Tatenda, and I'm just your regular Harare girl who now lives away from Harare. But yeah, I'm married to T, and we have two beautiful kids, Kai and Kay. And yeah, we're just trying to navigate life and share some of our experiences, but not all. We like to stay private, but public at the same time. So we try to balance between the two.
It's a vibe. So, yeah, I've been married to this wonderful woman for how many years
You
now?
better get it right.
I'm going to say 11 going on 12, just to be safe. And yeah, no, it's been quite the journey for us. A lot of different challenges here and there, but that's what life kind of throws our way, right? As you jump in. How we met? Well, I was hunting on social media years ago for a love interest, and came across this woman's profile, and I was like, you know what? Back in the high five days, let me just throw her a request. So she accepted the request, and yeah, I think a lot of it is history. We had never met each other in person. I'd only seen her profile, so things that these social media Christian Mingle type things. I was ahead of my time. No, you were not on Christian Mingle. I'm just saying. It was on High Five, that social media platform then. And yeah, reached out. She was receptive. I was like, cool. We talked as friends for like five years or so. Yeah, like we were cool like that. And what was really fascinating about our relationship was that we could always pick up where we left off. She wasn't complicated then. So
he went there.
So it was one of those. No, I didn't wake up choosing violence. No, not today. So yeah, we would talk. She was really a really good. She's a really good friend. So as a friend, it's one of those things that you can't go wrong by marrying your friend. And so yeah, I was in the US when I reached out to her. This was after how many years of us talking? Maybe 4 or 5 years. And I was like, hey, how's it going? And she got mad at me for for not telling her that I was in the US. Then I was like, this anger that she has here she must be feeling something that, what's up, what's up. So, so I pressed the throttle and, pushed on and asked her to be my girlfriend. Then she said yes. And then, yeah, we found ourselves in a relationship where we hadn't seen each other. So we
dated for 4 months.
Yeah.
And he came to visit me for my birthday, I think.
Yep.
And then he proposed the next day. And then so we were engaged, and then we were probably engaged for about 3 months.
Yes.
And then the Lobola stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
3 months, yeah.
And then so Lobola was done, and then the next month we had our church wedding.
Yeah. So
Wow.
so it was just one of those, so online. And I was like, yeah.
Okay. And the only reason that I responded was because a friend had promised to introduce me to you.
Yeah.
So I usually don't open mail from creepy people on social media.
Well, I was creeping good then because I won, right? So yeah, it works.
It was just perfect timing. Our mutual friend had said they're going to introduce me to you, and then you showed up in my mailbox. So I assumed he had gone ahead with the introduction.
Yeah, no. It was just, I'd call that a God incident. That it just happened to be a situation where a homie just, was mutual to us and, suggested or recommended that we connect. And
As prayer partners.
yeah. Yeah, no, prayer is powerful. Just want to put
Behave.
it on. So yeah, prayer did work. And yeah, we got married. Yeah.
And just to add on to what T said, I know he said we've had a lot of challenges, but I also wanted to add in that it's been hard, but it's been good.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't want anybody listening to think, well, why would I sign up for just challenges? In as much as we've had challenges, we've worked through them, and it's that working through the challenges is what got us here. So it's been hard, but it's been good, I think.
Yeah, no.
Oh, guys.
We're here. We're still here. 12, going on 12 years. I know. Teenagehood, here we come. We're doing it. We're in it.
Okay.
That's so beautiful, man. Meanwhile, to put Doja in my inbox.
Please answer. Please respond.
We're busy running away from the DMs. You see,
No,
DMs is a beautiful
don't run away from them. You never know. You never know. There could be a mutual friend in there who has said, hey, go talk to so-and-so, and
Right.
need something. So yeah, I always recommend jumping on it because, hey, I'm living it. I'm living the outcome of that.
But some of those DMs, have you seen them?
Yeah, I know there's some that are suspect, obvious. Right? But, yeah.
You can say that again, Tatenda. They are scary.
Not all of them are good. Some of them are like,
Fair. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna knock that. That's facts. That's facts.
So you mentioned challenges, right? So we're gonna do a whole 180 and dive right into some of the challenges. So getting into our topic today, and the first question that I want to ask, which may seem a bit random, but what role do you think the friendship part of your relationship played in helping you to navigate through the experience of postpartum depression? It's a bit of a weird place to start, but yeah.
It works. Go ahead.
I think it's a good place to start in that, in as much as we're focusing on this one topic, I think just overall, when you have a friendship, you have something to fall back on. And so when the love aspect is not really going, you can always fall back on your friendship. And so one of the odd but statements that we have in this relationship is we could be going through something, but if I go to him and I say, hey, I need to talk to my friend, I need the part of you that's my friend is the part of you that I want to talk to right now. So I could bring the most
weird
things to him and say, hey, listen, talk to me as my friend. What do you think about this? Or just as your friend, I want you to know this. And so That was first pregnancy, right? The depression part.
Yeah.
Actually, second was flipped, and this is something that people don't really talk about. Second was the dad going through the postpartum
Yeah.
depression.
Yeah.
So it also happens to men, even if they don't give birth to kids, which is something that I think society doesn't even look into. So the first one was me, and then the second one was your turn. We kind of like play tag.
Yeah.
But I think it's absolutely important to have a friendship because it's a second layer to fall back on when hard times come. So that's my take. I'm not sure about T.
Yeah, no, the friendship is critical. I can't say it enough. I can't preach it enough. Because the complexity of the season that you enter where postpartum depression is concerned is new, especially when it's baby number one, right? So from the lens of being a father and a husband, there are things that I didn't know, I wasn't coached on, I wasn't prepared for. No one ever thought about, no one ever said anything about the fourth trimester, in quotes, right? That it's actually a real thing. That when your wife gives birth, yes, there's the excitement of babies come, the 9 months is done, but there's another three that follows. And so for me, I was looking at Tatenda as not only the mother of my children and my wife, but also as my friend. And just watching her go through the motions of, no, T, I don't have the energy to hold baby. As soon as I got back from work, she would say, "Oh, Manako,
I was right by the door.
I
He
need
opens
me
the door. I'm
time."
like, here's your baby. Thank you.
Right?
And I'm
And
out.
and I had to quickly adjust and understand, or at least go in with that mindset, which I need to understand and be present for the situation because number one, we're doing this alone. We don't have family or extended family to then say, "Hey, Chimbotora Mwana," so that Tatenda can. I was it. And so I had to get into that gear where it's like, okay, when she says, "Here's your baby," I don't want to deal. To take it with a pinch of salt. It doesn't mean she doesn't love the child. She loves the child to bits, no doubt, right? It's just there are things happening within her that that she's working through that need time, and to afford her that time would make it easier for me to quickly get there. And so, yeah, I'll take baby, give her time to go have her time. So if she's going to, cater to herself, take a bath, if she wants to take a walk, if she just wants to go, walk through the aisles of a store and just peruse, just so that she can get into a mental state where she's ready to then re-engage with the family, should do so in a safer mindset for her and for the family as a whole. So I really had to just adapt and
And
lean
and
on that friendship.
and I think we really needed the friendship because the love part was kind of not gone, but I wouldn't even let you come close to me
Yeah, I couldn't touch her.
because every time I saw him, I was like, I'd start crying, and I'm like, this is how people get pregnant. You're not gonna hug me. No, like, don't come close. So sometimes you'd come from work and you'd go, hi, and then I'd cry.
Yeah, and I'm like, "What's
And
wrong?
then you're like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't want to hug you because if I hug you,
I'm gonna get pregnant."
I'm gonna get pregnant again, and then I'm gonna go through this stuff again. And like, no. So we really just needed to be just friends.
Yeah.
As we went through that season.
Mhm.
And did you have, like, either of you, because you mentioned that you both experienced it at different times, did either of you have a history with depression at any point in your lives, or it was just like, boom, what is this thing?
No, but I have like a hypothesis to what it was. The delivery itself was pretty traumatic for me, and I was in a lot of pain post baby that nobody ever says anything about. So it was a very fast delivery, and I was in pain. The doctor wasn't there. T caught the baby, and then suddenly we came home, and I was sleepy, and my body just hurt, and that just sent me on a spiral.
Mhm.
Because I remember a friend saying to me, like, day two, I was kind of okay. And then one friend came up and said, oh, did the milk come in yet? So most times when you have a baby, you have like colostrum, so the yellow stuff. And then around day three, the milk really just, your body catches up and you start producing milk. And I remember her saying to me, well, the waterworks will come with the milk. So when the milk comes, the crying is going to come. And I was just like, yeah, you're dramatic. Like, leave me alone. And then it happened. So, no.
Yeah, I growing up, I couldn't tell you if I knew the definition of depression,
Also, that.
because it's one of those things where as you go through it, as you live it, you don't know what it is that you're feeling. You don't know why you don't have the energy to get up and do what you need to. You don't know why you can't focus. You just don't have anything to speak of it. So when you do eventually live it, it's like, okay, now I can reconcile what depression is based off of the definition that I know it as and my childhood. So for me, it's one of those things where I've had the opportunity to bounce back and forth and look at, okay, at what stage in my life when I was growing up did I feel I was depressed? And I can pinpoint, certain points. But because Zimchild,
It's white people stuff.
yeah, rungu, Apana Junjonzi, yeah, you just need to get up and keep marching on. You're copying out. It's weak for you to even say that you're depressed. All those kinds of variables or factors are things that eventually got illuminated to me and defined when I was now out here, to then realize, wait a minute, this is actually a real thing, and it's not an indication of weakness. It's just a fact of, it happens to some. It maybe doesn't happen to others, but without definition, you never know if you're really living it. And so, yeah, I can reconcile things in the past and in that season of postpartum depression where I can say, okay, I now understand what depression looks like.
I've got a question I'd like to ask Tanti. Do you think if you had like close family members nearby helping you out, it would have maybe made the situation a little bit easier to navigate, or did that gap of not having family nearby worsen it by any chance?
That's a really good question.
I don't know. I really don't. And the odd thing is that we would have had a lot of support. We do have it now that the kids are older and we know how supportive the family is. However, it's like the fourth trimester and going beyond, because when it's depression, sometimes it stretches beyond that 3-month period after, is such an odd time. And so I asked somebody, like a family member, when I was going through this, and I said, hey, listen, when my baby cries, I really don't want to like run to them and attend to what they need. I just want to run away. And excuse me. And sometimes I just want to go to the washroom and lock myself in there and like just be. And then the family member said to me, well, I went through it too, but they had their child in Zimbabwe, right? And they were able to bring their child to the family home and, the whole Masungiro stuff. So they still had the support, but they still went through it. So I think some of it is just hormonal. And I'm not trying to almost just blame the hormones, but some of it is you've been pregnant, your body had 9 months to build up. Day by day, your hormones grow and they build up. And then as soon as you have your baby, it goes down very fast. And so I don't think the family would have been able to be a buffer for the effects of just that hormonal shift and the lack of sleep. I mean, I didn't want to breastfeed the baby, so T had to come and be like, "Oh, hey, the baby's crying. Do you think you could just breastfeed him and then
I'm sorry,
I'll take him when you're done. Like, just let me know when you're done. I'll take the baby away."
Yeah.
So I was like, that bad, and I slept in the living room, right?
Yeah.
So T would sleep in the main room, and I slept in the living room. And so T would come in. Oh, baby's up. Just feed him, and then just call for me when you're done, and then I'll take the baby away. The other thing that we had. So in as much as we can't call it support, is we hired a doula before we had our baby.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember she told T, whatever she does or she says in the 3 months after you have baby,
don't take it personal.
it's not personal.
No.
Just let her be, and it's going to be fine. So I had a lot of support in T because we hired the doula who kind of trained him, kind of like
Yeah.
even
No.
going through birth, going
Yeah.
through delivery. This is what the emotions are. Those 3 months, just ignore it. She still loves you. So I think it's good to have support because part of the support that we had was T reached out to a friend and said, "Hey, listen, do you think you could come pick up our son every Friday, just every Friday afternoon, and go somewhere?" And so I just had like Friday afternoon. I spent most of it just sitting because that's what depression does. You really don't, for the most part, you really don't feel like taking part in day to day activities, right? But I knew I had Friday afternoon. So she would come in on Friday. Sometimes she stayed, sometimes she brought coffee. Sometimes she brought gifts. She was very kind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were like gifts for mom. And she just reminded me, like, I like lipstick, and it would remind me. So I definitely do advocate for support. However, I don't think it will do away with the condition itself.
I was in two minds. Or at least my thinking of the whole season for us was number one. I'm going into this as a rookie. I know nothing
But
about
nobody
fatherhood. I'm
does.
with you. I'm with you. I'm talking from my lens, right?
Okay.
I'm going in. I don't know what I'm doing, but I've been coached by this doula that this is how you change a diaper. This is how burp a baby. These are the tactical stuff, the easy stuff to deal with. The emotional side, on the other hand, bruh, man, I didn't even know. It's just like I was just trying to figure it out as I went.
You said, bruh.
Yeah, I did say, bruh. The it was. I think there was benefit in us not having immediate family around, and it's crazy for me to say this, but it forced me to take up my role without the interference of extended family to say, I want to find out so, baba ningi mo find out so, and then absolve myself from the responsibility of this is my child. I need to be able to be up at night when he or she cries and take them to their mom so that they can be fed. I have to be the one to cook meals, take care of the family, that kind of thing. But if there was extended family, then I wouldn't have been able to fully experience it to the point where my contribution would feel like, what, I've actually contributed to the situation. I'm helping, right? Which is a piece that I feel for us men, we oftentimes miss out on because we bring in mamazala or an aunt or whatever to come and help handle the situation. But when you're in there and you're the one who's hands on about it, then as you then figure out that, okay, my wife is not, something's not right, you figure it out because you're there, you're seeing it, you're experiencing it, you're feeling it, as opposed to it being buffered by a relative who would then say, I want no, those genetic or my no, I want to be in there to understand so that I can also adapt accordingly. Right. So that's kind of like how I looked at it going in.
You sound like Wakajikiswa.
Oh, well, coriander.
I'm just saying.
Hey,
Zimbabwe man changing diapers, doing this, they're like,
yeah, no. When you don't have an option, if you're man enough, you'd step up and make it happen. That's how I think.
I like that. If you're man enough. I have a
For sure.
question. So, at what point did you realize that something's wrong? Do we need to do something? And if you did actively go out of your way to do something to deal with the situation, what did that look like?
I think the first 2 weeks we were not slightly prepared, right? Because we knew about baby blues, and baby blues are just those. It's about a 2 weekish period where you are having the same symptoms, but then it goes away. And the other thing that's set up here in the system, in the territories that we're staying in, is you do have somebody do a home visit
Yeah.
after you go home with baby. And I think it comes round about the 2 week mark. So instead of you taking the baby back into the doctor, they come to your home, they check out the home environment. Um, for the health things, do you smoke inside the home? Where does baby sleep? How does baby go to bed? So they kind of like assessing you, but you really don't know. And so they did talk about, the 2 week period. Are you feeling weepy? Are you feeling a certain way? But when that didn't go away, right? And T had returned to work. So one of the things that we did was, oh, I think another factor, sorry. Another factor was that the first baby was colicky. So he cried and he cried a lot. One time he cried so much that we took him to the emergency room, like, something's wrong with this baby. They've been crying for a whole day and they haven't stopped, and they cried the whole night. And then we got told, well, he's colicky, take him home, and colic does go away around 3 months.
Yeah.
We don't know what causes it, and this is what you have. So it's like, oh, okay, I'll sleep in 3 months, I guess. But excuse me. So I even lost track of where I was because I went to the colicky thing.
Yeah, you had to say that point. I don't know, girl. Wait.
I don't know.
Come back.
I'm old.
Come back.
That's it. It's gone.
Come back.
It's gone. Okay, so the action. So what happened was, one of the things that happened was that T went back to work and took paternity leave. So because he'd been coming home every day, and I I had like his coming back from work down to a science. I knew how long it took him to get up from his desk, walk to the car, get in the car, out of the parking lot, park the car at home, and be by the front door. I knew it took him 19 minutes. Like 19 after 4, I'm by the door. Here's your baby. Thank you. And my argument was, you get to go to work. You get lunch break at work. You get tea break. So you've rested for an hour, 30 minutes. I've just had a crying baby. Probably I couldn't even shower. Probably haven't showered. So it's like, okay, you got an hour 30. Okay, your turn. So he went back to work and he took paternity leave. And he came home mostly to make sure the baby was safe. I didn't get to the point of wanting to harm them, but it was always a risk. So T took some time off, and I think it's 6 months.
Yeah, something like that.
So he came home for 6 months, and we just stayed at home and slowly worked through it. Is my body, like, there's a lot of expectation on the human body. So, and I know it's supposed to be informal, is my body started to heal, which took so long because everybody says, oh, you have a baby and then uno garam sauti, and then in 2 weeks you're up and running, and then you, what do they call it, snatch back, and your body is all the way it was before you had babies. My body wasn't one of those bodies. It was like, no, we're taking our time and we're going to heal at our own pace. So that took about 4, it wasn't until like the 4th month that I was like, okay. But also the support.
Now he can touch me. Okay, now he can just, yeah.
True. Yeah, we were like past 3 months and you're just like, I can't even say hi, like no handshake. And so that started to get a little bit better. I started to look for people that had gone through the same experience, because I guess there's comfort in numbers. And I started to ask people. And then the weird thing is that when you start talking about it, you find that there are more people who've gone through it and are quiet. And so I would just talk to people, ask questions, ask those who've had their babies what it was like. And I think like a huge percentage of the women were like, oh, this is it. This is what we did. I also started going for walks, remember?
Yeah.
So I'd put the baby in the car and I'll just take a walk downtown and come back. And I found that really helpful. I didn't go for medication because I really wanted to breastfeed. And I thought, and this is not a science thing, I just thought, oh, well, my baby's going to get some of this medication through the milk. And I didn't want that at that point. And having said that, I think anybody who is going through depression should do what they need to do. And sometimes medication is the way to go. In more than 60% of the cases of any depression, medication helps. So if that's what one needs to do, I'm like, you go for it. So when I started going for walks, I started to feel better, a lot better with just taking walks, being out in nature. The place where we live, it's almost like half urban, half rural. So you're almost always 3 minutes away from a trail. So you're like in trees,
Yeah.
and there's like a walking trail that leads you to downtown. And you come back, and it's all in the trees and the rocks and a lake. You're always close to a lake. So I started just doing that, taking that in. And yeah, so by the time you went back to work, I would walk and come see you at lunchtime.
Yeah.
And then I would walk back home. And that was really helpful.
Yeah.
And there's no Christianese.
No,
There's no
no.
Christianese on this one. I just
It's,
started getting out a little bit more.
yeah. I think activity was a key piece to the whole dynamic for Tatenda as she was working through it. Because it's so easy to become too introspective and too deep within yourself that it becomes difficult to actually come out at all. And so, yeah, kudos to you, Mama. She pushed through, and I think the mental fortitude that she had managed to create within herself prior to even giving birth was something that then showed when it was now time for when we're now navigating the season, right? In that, I remember even before our firstborn came into the world, she was like, "I'm scared, and I don't know what's gonna happen, and I'm afraid that I'm gonna die, and all that stuff," right? And to be able to have uh, heard those words, and for her to have, uh, I guess, mentally prepared herself for what was coming in terms of just the giving birth piece, is what then showed up in strength when it was now time for, I don't know what's going on in my body. I think it's depression. What can I do? What do I need to do? Let me get up and do something. Um, and so yeah, she created a routine for herself. Um, I slid into that routine as best I possibly could, just so that she knew that she had support. Um, and yeah, knowing the time and science of my departing work to come home was interesting, but it was something. It was something to keep her mind going, to always be pointing at, looking to something to keep her motivated, right? Which is okay. By 4:19, he's going to be at home. Let me just get there. Let me get to 4:19.
He legit had to say, "Hater, I'm just going to the store. I'll be 10 minutes late."
Or I'm in the gas
Or
station.
I would lose it. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I need gas. I'm gonna stop at the gas station, and then I'll come home. Then I'll be like, okay, 4:26 then, and then I'll wait.
Yeah.
And then it's like that kind of feel. But it was like, yeah, okay, we'll see you.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the other big thing that I had to work through was the guilt. Because like TV shows you all these lovey-dovey moms and their babies, and like just the romantic side of motherhood. Like nobody wants to talk about the ugly side of it. And
Right.
so when I wasn't feeling like cuddling the baby the whole time, I had that like internalized, like, what is wrong with me? Why don't I want to cuddle them? And then I thought, oh, I'm going to break them. Like something's going to be wrong with them forever. They're never going to love me. We're never going to have an attachment. And so I think like a lot goes on when a mom is going through like postpartum depression. It's mostly that. And then society is going to judge you because, like, what kind of mom doesn't want to be with a child,
Oh yeah.
right? And I think there's just that fear to open up and say, hey, I'm feeling this and this and this. What do you think?
Mm.
So I got a question for you, for you, T.
Yeah.
I think you did mention that on the second baby, you went through postpartum yourself. So what was your like take back my power moment? Like I heard from Ta that she had to get up and start doing something differently. What was your take back my power moment or tactics or methods you used to bring back sanity to the madness that was surrounding you?
Oh man, I think of that season and the number of things that were happening. The dynamic of my situation in that season was not just that I had baby number two in the world. I had also some other family related drama that was happening too. So just the turbulence and turmoil there was something to be really introspective on. But I think one of the things that I definitely leaned on was just habitual things for me. When pressure kicks in, I go quiet, I go introspective, but I keep working through it, right? And just leaning on that characteristic about me, Tatena will tell you that you would think nothing is wrong. The world is burning, the building is on fire. T is quiet and he's getting everybody organized. Guys, keep moving. This is what we need to do. You know, do this, do this, do that. And I think having grown up in a state where I would go introspective and leverage that in dealing with pressures, notwithstanding the fact that inside it's chaos. It's like, oh my gosh, the world is on fire. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Um, using that to initially keep things moving, because I'm looking at these beautiful faces and they're saying, like,
Mm.
what's the deal? What's the game plan? Um, and to be able to just keep marching on required me going, to that place where it's like, okay, when the pressure sets in, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna sit back and let these people that you claim to care for, you know, go down with you, or are you going to do something about it? And so I prayed a lot. I vulnerably just said to God, yo, like, I don't even know what this mess is. I don't even know how I'm supposed to navigate it. You're going to have to show me step by step, because you know everything that's going on in my life right now. You know how taxing and challenging it is to not only um, be a pillar of support, meet my kids at the energy levels that they are, deal with the different angles at which the challenges that they're facing, are coming. And you need to tell me, right? And I think one of the most difficult things in that season was not having the opportunity to be able to lean on other fathers to say, hey, have you felt like this before? Because as men we tend to live out this bravado type feel, where we're just like, yeah, no, I got it, the macho type approach. And yet deep down, behind closed doors, through chema, you know and we thinking crying is a weakness, but no, crying is actually therapeutic and stuff. um but yeah, to answer your question, just the ability to lean on how I've dealt with pressure filled issues, in the past, began to build that inner strength to then say, okay, T, you're feeling this way, but look what you've accomplished, even as you're feeling this way, and then chipping away at it, right, bit by bit. Okay, yeah, no, I took the kids out. Okay, I went with the family to get some ice cream. I threw, my son in the air and caught him and watched how funny that was, and using those moments to then rebuild that joy around the whole thing. And another thing was taking pictures, making memories, right? Videotaping your kids doing all sorts of fun things, right? These are all things that I would then, before going to bed, I'd pull out my phone and look at photos of them, pull out videos and watch those videos over and over again, just to reignite that this is part of my why, right? And building on top of that to the point where I was like, yeah, no, is depression? It's a real thing, but these ones are more important than this depression. So I mustn't be selfish. I need to fight through this, just so that I can at least enjoy seeing them this joyful as well.
So you've talked us through how you kind of walked through that period. Could you give us a little bit more detail around what the period actually looked like for you? Like, what was the experience like? Ta spoke about, the crying and waiting for you to be like, okay, he's almost home. What was your experience like?
Uh, Initially I was like, bruh, what's this sexy? Like she's just Like you're the mom. Like, can't you take care of baby? Like, what's the matter, right? Um, and as insensitive as that was, I just didn't know what I didn't know, right? So in watching it happen and you know seeing her navigate the challenge that this was, yeah, it was just it was weird, right? Because I knew Tatenda before baby was born, right? And this Tatenda was different, and I hadn't reconciled the fact that as we're going on this journey as a married couple, as parents, we're gonna change, and it's a constant change management situation, right? That as you're living through this life, all sorts of variables are gonna hit you left, right, and center, and you need to be able to navigate them. But as it was happening, I was like, I'm also am I in Maguita Seiko, right? And it would get frustrating sometimes. I'm like, you know what? I love you, babe. And she would start crying. And I'm like, but I'm telling you that I love you. Why are you crying? And she's like, I don't know. I'll tell you tomorrow. And I'll never hear about it tomorrow, right?
Because there was never a good reason. Why are you
Exactly.
asking?
So, but I didn't know what I
Mm.
didn't know, right? So I think I eventually got to that point where I had to revert back to what the doula taught me, which is just a pinch of salt. Just let it be, right? But also one of the principles that I was brought on, courtesy of my dad, was be a protector of women, right? And so just having that at the back of my mind always, and has been the thing for me. So when I would see her cry and stuff, in my head I'd be like, what? But at the same time I'd be like, yeah, but she needs me, right? I can't. She's not. I'm not fighting her. She's not my enemy. We're in this, and we're in this together in different capacities. She needs me to be doing the lifting for her while she recovers, because yeah, I was there for the whole shebang, like from giving birth to everything. I saw everything, right? Like I was in it, and just having that experience was important, to then understand, Kuzi, this is giving birth is a life or death situation, like literally,
And don't scare anyone.
and it's not to scare anyone, right? Because people give birth differently. I'm saying it from the standpoint of just having witnessed what I witnessed,
It
right?
was hectic.
For baby number one. Baby number two was different, totally different.
Still hectic.
Hectic, yes, but different. Because even the vibe, like her vibe going to what's it,
Labor.
to labor, yeah. She was she was like, yeah, we're doing this. Round two, let's go. Round one, even I was like, oh, my wife, like, what can I do? How can I do? So living in Djibouti, where someone comes and is waiting at the door with the baby, those are all things that I was cognizant of. That, yeah, no, she has every right in this situation to say, oh, mwana wako, right? Because in my mind, I had to come to the realization that it's so much harder for her than it is for me, in the season, especially because she's not only dealing with body changes, but body recovery, mental recovery, because this in some instances, childbirth can be traumatic for some, right? And for her, it was traumatizing. Um, so yeah, just being able to be sensitive and empathetic, not to say could you have a clue what giving birth is about, outside of just witnessing it. Yeah, it looked weird, it looked crazy, it looked confusing, but it started making sense as I started seeing the Todd that I knew prior to her giving birth coming back, and seeing that, okay, no, this is working. Giving her time is actually working, and it's gonna benefit me, because and I get her back.
And the other thing that happened was in that season that we didn't mention was I had to go back to the doula for a debriefing.
Mm,
So part of what for me, and I know like this is a personal thing, it's not for everyone. Part of what I think triggered that thing was my birth experience versus the expectations that I had built up in my mind. I had out here they make you do a birthing plan. I had a birthing plan. Um, the lights were going to be dim. They were just going to be just right in the delivery room.
Play
We were
music.
going to play music, and I was going to birth into the kingdom. Remember, it's called Birthing into the Kingdom. And I had a playlist, where it's like, oh, this nice affirmations for the baby. You are loved. God loves you, and all this stuff. And I was just going to do it. And I was going to deliver on my belly,
Mm.
because then you don't get no tears when you do that. And he was going to rub my feet just right. He was going to use a tennis ball. We even had tennis balls in the
Yeah,
bag.
like
He was going to use a
a
tennis
three
ball,
pack.
and he was going to put
Red.
enough pressure on my back because I was giving birth to the baby. Lo and behold,
Mm.
I go to labor. Um, Baby doesn't come for a day. We're just in hospital like for a whole day. And then the doctor says, you're not having baby today. They leave. And then baby comes within 10 minutes. I mean, there was no time for no music, right lights. It
Jack.
was just take this person to the delivery room, and then delivery happened so quick. So I think for me, I had to mourn the loss of what I think I was going to have and reconcile that with what I actually did get.
Yeah.
So I went back to the doula and we talked about it. We talked about my expectations, what really happened, how I felt about it. So, in a sense, I think I got talk therapy
Mm.
with somebody that was there before and after.
Lessons learned.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that was also one of the turning points. And then once I accepted that it happened the way it happened, and just how little control somebody has over some of the medical things that happen, I think it's after that I began going out for walks,
Yeah.
because I went back, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was my last exchange with the doula, like the whole let's review what happened. Let's review where we're at now. And excuse me, and I think that was like a major thing in the recovery.
And then T, your personal experience with depression, was it as hectic, you think?
Uh it's tricky to give an answer to that, and the reason why I say that is because it's hard to you can't compare, right? What it looks like for each individual. I'll say for me, the challenge was and is being in a man. How do I put it? Dealing with it and knowing that you've still got all these responsibilities that people are looking at you to handle, right? So, in terms of it being difficult, I know depression is hard. Like it's really just a difficult thing to navigate. Um, is there value in talking to people about how you feel? 100%. Do I encourage men to go talk to other men or other people who've lived that experience? 100%.
They'll talk about you everywhere.
The challenge is that, right? Being able to be vulnerable in a safe space where you know your business is not going to go out the window, right? And also being understood, right? Because in our society, and when I say society, I'm referring to the less sensitive uh, society. Maybe Zimbabwe would fall into that category, where men are concerned, and the relationship between manhood and emotions. Um, that that space is a real thing. It's a challenging thing, um, and I always revert back to this one statement that one of my friends once said to me when I asked him what is one thing you want uh, a woman to understand about a man, and he said just to be understood. That's it, just to be understood. And so, referring to the depression side of things, where that's concerned, there are pockets of time when I'd feel like Tatiana doesn't understand me right now. She's not getting me. She's not understanding that, I also have feelings and I'm also hurting and I'm also in this space. And I'm also trying to fight through it. And little did I know that the best way for her to understand was me communicating with her vulnerably and saying, "Hey, girl, I don't feel like doing A, B, C, D because this is what's going on inside of me." And knowing that you know, our marriage wouldn't be over because I was talking to my friend who would then say, "Hey, you know what? I see you, I hear you, I understand you. Let me give you some space. I'm gonna take the kids out for a walk, and you stay put and figure out what you need to figure out." Or, okay, I know you like to do podcast recordings or whatever, so I'll let you do that, and I'll take the kids and go do something ABCD. So being given that space in the same way I had given her the room to then have her time, um, was really helpful because I felt I had an ally in Tatenda to then say, you know what, I can tell her how I'm feeling, where I'm at, and it's going to be between us, and we're gonna figure it out together. And at the same time, I have someone who's cheering me on. I'm looking at the kids; they're also adding value and excitement to my life. They're rejuvenating me in their simple ways. Seeing one kid count to 30, witnessing another starting to crawl. All those little pockets of memories and stuff are things that eventually helped me work through it. And yeah, I think the understanding piece was a critical thing. But to be understood, you have to then state that, hey, this is exactly what I mean. I'm not saying anything otherwise. This is where I'm at.
Yeah, I think what happened with number two was that you were overwhelmed, courtesy of like Goringwana, right? So we had our kids back to back. And then, so number one was like, okay, I'm adjusting. Number two for him was like, whoa. And we're like two kids in diapers, two kids in daycare, two kids, both of them are still like taking baby ish food
Yeah.
at the same time because the oldest one was 18 months. And so I feel like you had a more, from the outside looking in, you had a more withdrawn type of depression. So the one where you just like internalize but withdraw from everything else. So it took more energy to get you going. It took more energy to say, well, let's go around the block for a walk. Let's step out and do something. However, after baby number two, I was feeling like so great. Like
She was like, let's
I
go
was like
here.
somebody who's on like
Let's
stimulants or
do
uppers or something.
this.
Like I was really up there.
And I'm like, what is this girl talking about?
And so it was also on my part a lot of like reaching inside and going, okay, we're gonna go for a walk in 10 minutes. Um, we won't go for like a 5K walk. We're just gonna go around the block, 400 meters. Let's do a little bit of that today. We're going to go for a drive. So let's just take the kids to the store or let's go for a drive and let's come back in. But I think very much so withdrawn, like more
Yeah.
just you and alone and just
Yeah. Well, it doesn't help that I'm an introvert. Hard to believe.
yeah.
But also how I recharge is on my own. I want to take myself away from people so that I can recharge. Because if I keep at it,
Yeah, but this time you're
yeah.
away,
But
away.
here I was gone. I was
Yeah.
gone.
You spoke about the shame of opening up as a man that I am going through depression. What would be your type of? I would like to direct this question to the both of you, Ty and team. What would be a typical, if you can paint a picture of a typical safe space where couples can come up and men can also come up and outrightly say, guys, I'm going through a lot with this situation that I'm in. We've got a new baby and I can't cope. What would a typical safe space where you don't have to feel the shame and the embarrassment of people talking about you would look like for you guys? How would you paint it?
I think the starting point is getting to that state where you're comfortable in your own skin before you present yourself to other couples. And for us, I believe we're at that place where we're like, we don't really care what anyone else thinks, really, because we're very comfortable in who we are and what we've experienced. So much so that we are open, right? We, like Tatenda said, we keep it private, but if you come asking, we'll tell you. But hey, this is the real, right? And so speaking on that real side, I think that is the catalyst to a very healthy therapeutic space for couples where the trust is founded on just being honest, right? I think one of the most difficult things where that's concerned is that we are not honest with each other to say, hey, you know what? This fatherhood thing, I didn't know it was gonna be like this, and I don't even know like how I'm moving with it. But I'm there. I'm already there. So guys, please help me. What did you do? Did any of your spouses ever do this? Because me, I'm trying to figure it out. I know that as you are unpacking that to other couples, they are receiving understanding, mirroring it back, and offering advice that speaks to the seasons that they've experienced something similar, if not the same. And they're stating it in a way such that it's empathetic and it's not looking for what would I say? It's not a competition, you know, in that space. It's we're trying to help each other move along. We're trying to encourage each other to raise healthy families. And when challenges come, we're rallying around each other to help uplift each other. I think those are some of the founding pillars in my mind that would get things going. The key to it all though is just being honest and vulnerable because we show off too much. And we don't come to we don't share the in-depth real stuff enough for it to be a safe space, where when real issues happen, when depression comes in, or when other complications show up, you have people that actually show up. Go ahead, Boo. Yeah, I know. Go.
What?
Yeah, I know you got something to say. Go.
No, I was just thinking how difficult a question that is,
Mm.
because it's asking for the ideal, right? In a world that's far
Not
from
ideal.
ideal. And so I thought, oh man, I wonder what an ideal space for somebody to show up as themselves and share and be safe would look like. Um, I think if the societal structures could support that, that would be great. I don't want to be too critical of the church, but the church has failed in that regard.
Yeah.
Um, it's very easy to hear nyaya dzakwaMainingi because Mainingi opened up at the church,
Mm.
right? You go to the church elders, and then the next thing you know, you're everybody's discussion. And so I feel like the church has given up. It would be ideal if people could trust the systems, even within church, to go and do that. Um, I was going to suggest the family system, but
It's
it's
challenging.
highly dependent on the type of family that one has,
Yeah.
and one has to be aware like of themselves and how their family is, because it's easy for family to hold on to things and to use those things against your spouse, when you've told them in trust. But I still, however, and maybe this is my own bias, I had a very lovely grandma, and she passed on when I was a teen. And oftentimes I think, well, if my grandma were here, I would be able to sit with her and ask and say, Gogo, how was it doing this? And it sounds like a lot of them have outdated advice, but there's a reason why we're here, because some of the stuff they did worked. And so I wish the family structure, I mean, what would be perfect? This is what would be perfect. If the family structure still functioned in that way, where people can openly share, maybe with the tetes. It's not an experience that I've had. Um, but just to be safe and to know that you're still loved after having shared that, I think that would go a long way. Um, However, I don't know that families are still structured that way for all sorts of reasons. If the church could do that, that would also be awesome. I know there's and I was just talking to Dr. Shami about it yesterday. I know people can go for psychotherapy, but how many therapists do we have in Zimbabwe? And how many people can afford to have counseling on a weekly basis or on a daily basis? Um, I'm not sure too many people can.
Yeah.
And so I know there's some services that are starting up. I've never been to those services, especially in Zimbabwe. So I don't know how safe they are or how beneficial they are, but that's not writing them off. But yeah,
Yeah, the key word there is safe. You want to be as safe as possible, right? That as you're sharing, as you're sharing your vulnerabilities in that space, you're confident that it's not going to come off from somewhere else. That you know someone who has ill intentions will leverage that and use that. And so utopia to me looks like that, a space where you can just come and openly just, hey, let me lay it out for you. Last night Ningi did ABCD, and we don't know how to deal with it because we're at this stage. Tinashe is depressed. He's not talking to me. I don't know what's the deal, right? And then someone else putting their hand up and saying, "Yeah, no, T, you know what? I've been depressed too. This is what I did. This is how I worked through it." And then on the ladies' side, sharing those notes and just standing, you're sitting in front of each other and consistently working through that and building those meaningful relationships that go that way.
I love that. Just the importance of communication. I think we take it lightly, but in actual fact, it goes a long, long way. And so on my end, I think I've learned so much. It's been so eye-opening, and in a way therapeutic for so many reasons. But I just want to hear from you guys. And T, you can speak to the men who are going to listen to this. Ty, you can speak to the women. For those who are smack bang in the middle of this experience right now, and they are at their wits' end. It's like, I don't know how I'm going to continue. I'm stuck. What do I do? Yeah, it could be a word of comfort that you want to share or some advice. Go for it.
For the fellas out there, I would just say, um, number one, yes, it's hard. Yes, it feels overwhelming. Yes, it feels like, you know what, you can't handle this. But at the center of it all, I want to encourage you to understand that you are the right person for the assignment that you have in front of you. In as much as you may look at your spouse and your children and feel that overwhelming feeling like, how am I going to deal with this? The burden is not on you alone to carry. It's it's a team effort. And in as much as you know your family needs you, you also need them. And if you don't communicate how you feel and where you're at, they can't help you. They can't help you, get up and deal with what it is that you're dealing with. It is hard to actually get to that point where you actually speak on what you're feeling, because let's face it, for the most part, we've been taught to be strong and be quiet and be stoic, and yet we also have feelings. So it's okay for you to feel what you feel, but it's not okay for you uh, and I to leave the ones that matter to us most alone. So in giving up, you'd be leaving this opportunity to be the hero they need you to be for them, and at the same time for you to learn what it is that you have within you to actually accomplish this assignment that's in front of you. You are a husband, you are a dad, you are a man, and you're that way by God's design. Whether you believe it or not, there's a reason why you are here. And that reason is not for you to give up, it's for you to keep trying. Even if you make mistakes, you know that we are the risk takers. We like to do fun things, right? But in taking those risks, make sure that you remember that these people that look at you and ask for your leadership genuinely care for you and need you to do your part. And it just takes taking it one step at a time. Find that little thing that you enjoy doing. If it's going to the gym, just go to the gym, lift a couple of weights. If it's doing something creative, get into that creative space to get your mind going again, little by little, one step at a time, one task at a time. a minute by minutes type approach, you'll get there. And know that you're not alone in experiencing it. So feel free to share with other people, other men who are safe and caring enough and who are for you, that this is what you're feeling. And let's start from there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, I think I would say the best way to deal with shame is to share. Once we share something and it's in the open, shame doesn't have a grip on us anymore. So if you're going through something, please share. Reach out to somebody, anybody. One of the things that I learned from that experience was that it's okay to ask for help. Going in, I thought I was going to be the best mom. I was going to do it all. I was going to make organic baby foods and freeze them myself. Babies would never eat baby pureed food. And so I had to learn to ask for help. And it makes a difference. I think it's really hard for moms to ask for help because we're expected to do it all. But please reach out, ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. It is also okay to accept help. Many times people offered to help me and I said no, for no reason at all. But say yes to all the help. Um, my grandma would be disappointed with this one, but let what slides slide. You don't always have to have a clean house. Um, Sometimes it's just that you have to survive and the dishes will get done when the dishes get done. Um, be kind to yourself
Yeah.
was my other lesson. I think I remember writing this for a blog that I never put out. Be kind to yourself. And most of all, the best way to look after your family is to look after yourself. So, looking after yourself is very important. It doesn't always look like having your nails done, but really taking care of yourself is the best way to show up for your family. And so, it's not being selfish. Do something for yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of your health. Get that sleep. Um,
Take care of your edges.
yeah, where did we get you?
Sorry.
Kati who? Okay, lay down your edges if you must. But do whatever it takes. Find the thing that you love. Reach out to your friends. I think a lot of times depression gets people to isolate themselves because we think nobody cares or we think our friends don't love us anymore. And sometimes it takes reaching out to somebody and saying, "Hey, how are you doing? Can we do coffee?" Um, your kid will be fine for the most part, unless you're having thoughts to harm them. Then they won't be fine. For the most part, your child will be fine. I think we have pressure from the whole bonding attachment rhetoric that's out there. You will bond with your kid, they will love you.
Oh yeah.
And I think I can say that with confidence because our first child is now 9 and we have an amazing relationship. Um, the child doesn't even know that this happened. And so it will work out. Write it out. Some of the symptoms are just time. Give your body time to heal, feed it well, get rest. Um, Take more time if you need to, and just tell people how you're feeling. And I think hang in there. Um, Find others who've gone through the same thing. If you need to go see a professional, please see a professional. If you get medication, please get medication and do whatever it takes. But there's life on the other side of depression, and
And there's
yeah,
love as well on the other side and through it.
yeah.
Oh, oh, amazing. Ty and T, just listening to you guys, your sharing your story, it brought a sense of healing. And this is what we hope and pray our listeners will get when they listen to this podcast. That sense of healing, that sense of you're not alone, you're not in this game alone. There are people who've gone before you and they're willing to share and bring this peace in this storm that you don't understand whether it's coming or going. So in the great words of Brene Brown talks about rumbling in the emotions and the feelings, rumbling in your vulnerability. And this is exactly what you did with us tonight. You rumbled in the vulnerability, and that's what we encourage our listeners to do. Rumble in the vulnerability of what you're going through. It's not a shame. You're not alone. You are coming out on the other side. You just need to find a support center that will hold that space for you, that will hold the peace that you need in that moment. Thank you so much, Tar and T, for joining us on this conversation on postpartum depression. So thank you to my host, Shemiso, for holding this space as well, for allowing us to be and allowing us to heal in this space. So from me, Yvonne,
And Shami.
we will catch you on the next go around.